Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Don't mind the mess that is behind me. I'm in my kids playroom, but anyway, I am so excited about today's video because I've been wanting to do this for the longest time. I am so passionate about moms, and I got two of my mom friends to join in this video, and they're going to be sharing their motherhood journey. So a lot of moms move around wearing masks because they think that they need to be super moms, and I hope that after watching this video you'll be encouraged to be your authentic self. You'll be encouraged to know that life happens. Sometimes you'll have an oops baby, sometimes things have to change, but instead of focusing on the things you do not have, enjoy the motherhood journey. And because this is Candid Convos, we are going to be as candid as possible, and you're gonna see the baby cry. Sometimes one mom's stepping out because she's gonna need to help with the baby, but hey, that is motherhood, and that's the reason we decided to do this video, to say moms out there need to know that we are in this together. And the most amazing thing any mom can have is having a mom tribe that can understand her. And if you're not a mom, please still do watch so that you actually understand what moms go through. If you're a father, if you have a mom around you and maybe you don't understand what is going on with them, this might actually help you to understand that the struggle is real. So without wasting your time, please watch, and let's are you guys comfortable?
Yes, we are. Yes, I am.
Say, what would you say to moms who have lost themselves? Like, we're talking about how it's been a journey for us. And no, wait, there's a question.
So, it's how many weeks? Sorry, Mama, just
All right, so can you guys introduce yourselves? Amanda?
Well, okay, my name is Amanda, as Anna has already said. I'm a mom of two. I'm working full-time. I've got a 9-to-5 job, and I'm married to Tendai. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. And Irene?
So I'm Irene. I'm a mom of 3 under 6. I'm currently on maternity leave. And I'm married to Norman. I've been in Australia for the past 2.5 years. So yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about Australia, guys. When you left Africa, you were like, hey, we're going to the land of milk and honey. How has that been for you? Is it exactly what you thought of, or what have you been learning?
Well, it's definitely not what we were expecting. I think I always used to tell Irene that when we moved here, I saw myself, traveling the world, going to Bali and, seeing the world and living lavish and having fun, but it's definitely not it. I've been able to travel, but I'm not living the life I expected to live because I'm mostly very tired, and I would prefer to be indoors and just rest most of the times.
Yeah, the 24 hours in Australia feels different,
It
right?
feels like we've got like 10 or 11 minutes in a day.
True.
Yeah, and for you, Irene?
I think I've just been, I've had, in the 2.5 years, I've had 2 kids. So kudos to me, right?
Yeah.
So it's just been busy. And I think one thing that I really didn't find out before I moved to Australia is how is life with young kids. And I think that probably was going to be a game changer for me, because I think if I knew better that I didn't have as much of a village here in Australia as I had back in South Africa, I would probably have maybe stayed back into South Africa for a little while longer. But God had other plans. But I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to the things that are going to come.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I know you guys have had children in Australia, and probably you had an idea of how it would be, like I would be preserving my culture and everything, but you face challenges when it comes to your children. What are some of the challenges you faced? Like, let's talk about the skin color probably, and the hair, where you find maybe your child is the only black kid in a class, and for them, they start questioning you. Irene, you talked about the other day about Avi saying, when am I actually going to see a teacher who looks like me? How has that been for you?
It's definitely been challenging where, for example, for my son, he's in a school that has probably two black children, him being the other child. And I think my first wake up call was when he came and he said, "Mommy, we had to draw our moms." And I said, "Oh, is this me?" That's another mom's, that's another child's mom. And I said, "Oh, why would you draw his mom?" And he said, "Well, there wasn't a black crayon for me to be able to draw you." So it's very challenging in the sense that our children also struggle to fit in because the resources or the things that are being presented to them don't necessarily cater for their skin color. And for me, being very much outspoken about how I wanted my child's culture and everything of his background to be represented in the school, I started putting my hand up to do certain things.
To volunteer.
And I said, "Look, it's Harmony Week. Can we do this? This is what I'm thinking we can do for the school. It's Harmony Week and we are giving you a 15-minute slot." I called Anna and I said, "I don't even know what I'm going to do." They hadn't told me it's just for 15 minutes. They said, "It's Harmony Week and we'd like you to come and do something to represent the African culture." So I said, "I don't even know what to do this year." And I was just trying to come up with different ideas. I got to the school today and they said, "So here is a book that would love you to read to the children." And the kids last year loved the game that you taught them. I taught them Tarsem Kati, Shimba Inoruma, and they wanted us to play it again today. And they said, "But please, could you try do everything in 15 minutes because the program is pretty packed." So I said, "Oh, okay." And I was just wondering what
else they have.
Yeah, because you get to the school and sometimes if it's the Chinese New Year, you'll see their dragons, you see the lanterns, you'd see, they'd go all out. And I'd always wonder, why can't we do something for the African culture? So this time they brought in a whole group of drummers, African drummers who were dressed up and I was like, wow, blown away to see that they actually listened. What I've learned is sometimes we think that they are leaving us out. Sometimes we need to speak out and educate them on how we want things to be done, and also sometimes if we show interest in representing our culture, they might actually give us the opportunity to do so. Unfortunately, it's never, "Oh, it's Harmony Week, can you do this?" I had to say, "So when is my turn coming?" So
that they remember.
Yeah, so that they remember that, so it's I think it's where it started and where we're going. I'm starting to actually feel like, oh, look, there's actually a future in having my child learn about his African culture in that environment.
So Irene, I've got a question for you. When we were back in Zimbabwe, we used to show off to each other to say, "Oh, my kid can speak English at 3." We'd even say, "Hakone kutaura shona," and it was like a cool thing. But once we came to Australia, we saw the importance of preserving our culture and actually teaching them Shona and Ndebele, So how have you tried to preserve our culture for your children?
So for me, I'll speak for myself. I've found it quite challenging, and I had to go back to say, how do I become intentional about this? And it's just not going to be what I say to my kids, but how I present myself. So I find that I need to be able to identify myself. What are the things that make me African? And I need to leave that out so that my kids can see that. I realize that it's not just about the language. My kids are going to need more than just me speaking Shona or teaching them how to speak Shona. So I was actually saying before we got on the platform to Anna to actually say, I had a range of wigs, but I had to make a decision that I need to embrace my African self. I need to embrace my authenticity. And that involved me getting rid of my wigs and grow my natural hair, because I realized that my daughter was saying every time we undo her hair, she's like, "Oh, mommy, I look like a boy." I'm like, "No, you don't look like a boy." She's like, "No, but my hair is not all flowy." So I needed to show her that, Aviela, do I look like a boy? And she's like, "No, mommy, you don't look like a boy." So I'm like, "So then it's fine for you to have your hair. You know, this is the hair that we got from God, and we need to love it." And I'm now realizing that even now, as she's gone back into school, we no longer have that conversation of her wanting flowy hair, because I think she can see me and she can say, actually, this is our hair and we need to love it for what it is. So I'm just in a season where I'm trying to say, how do I show my African identity in my home and in my environment, so that my kids can capture that. I've gone to buy books of English, Shona and Ndebele, to start making that a reality in our home, teaching the kids. And I'm finding it for my daughter. She'll be like, "Oh, the other day we were looking at this word butterfly, shavi shavi," and for her it was something that she's finding it funny, and she's like, "Oh, I know a Shona word." And I just realized that we've got a long way to go, but I'm just grateful that at least I did get to this point to actually say, but wait a minute, I don't want to look 5 years down the line and say, okay, where's the identity, where's the culture in my children? So I'm just grateful that I can make a change today. Baby steps.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think for me, I don't know if it's different for you ladies, having children has made me see I actually didn't know myself. You know, I was trying to be different people. Like you're talking about your child then saying my hair's not flowy. Remember, I went through the same thing with Anashe. I had to rock my banzi everywhere I went, because she's like, "You're not confident to go out with my banzi, so why should I be confident to go out with them?" You know, and you're not confident speaking your Shona, so why should I be confident speaking the Shona? So sometimes it actually shows us, Kuti, we don't know who we are, and we actually need to improve on that, because these children are watching.
No, they are. My 2-year-old, we were leaving the house to go out, and he came. He's like, "Oh, there's your wig." And
you are not
me,
complete.
That was it. When my 2-year-old is saying, "Mommy, you are not complete. We are about to go out. You need to put this on top of you so that you can be identified out there." I think that just kind of touched me, and I realized that I need to embrace who I am in order for my kids to know who they are.
That is so true. That is so profound. Yeah, and I think that is so inspiring. There's a lot we learn from children. And we were raised in a culture where mwana hathaure chino kunamai, you know what I mean? Yeah. But we deprive them of actually knowing we're human. We make mistakes, and it's okay to actually apologize to them. To say, in this time, I actually didn't know I was doing this to you, and I will improve on that. So talk about this image to say, you know, having babies does something to us when it comes to our bodies, the way we look at ourselves. How has that been for you? Because I know a lot of moms come to me and they say they struggle with the idea of having gained weight, having to change, and meeting people who be like, "Is that you? What is going on?" And some even congratulating you, "Amanda, you're having another baby," you know, and you're like, "Guys, I'm also trying to work on my tummy," you know. It can really lower your self-esteem. And I want us to talk about that, to say, how have you tried to handle that? Did you have a time where it actually affected you, or you were just like, "Girl, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm affirming myself. Girl, everyone sees you as fat, but you're the slimmest girl out there." You know what I mean? So how do you do it?
I think as an individual, there are things that, there are certain things that bring back your confidence. For me, I'd never been a very slim girl, but unfortunately, after having Lily, my second, I seemed to have grown a little bit wider. And I joke about it and I say it's grown up weight, but deep down you look at yourself and you say, okay, now we really need to work on this. I think Irene and I had sessions where we would do 30 minutes almost every day to work out on our bodies. But for me, unfortunately, my tummy hasn't gone back to definitely not where it was before, but where I'd feel comfortable with, not because I'm being lazy or I'm just not eating right, but because childbirth has done some permanent damages that might not be able to be repaired, where you go to the extent of going to a doctor or a physiotherapist and they say, okay, in order for us to fix this, we might need to actually go in for surgery. And I said, no, I don't need to do that right now. Yes, in the future, if it's starting to cause health issues, I might need to do it. But at the moment, it was to preserve how I feel as an individual. So what I've done, because obviously you go out and like you said, people will look at you and say, Ish, 12 months later, Sha, what's happening, you know? There are things that I've started to do that I inconsistently do. I invested in shapewear. But now when it's just me and my girls, I don't wear it. But when I want to go out and I'm wearing that dress that I just need to look good, I'll wear Spanx, or I'll wear something that will, you know, shape my waist area to hide that. And initially I used to think that, you know, you need to take pride in your mommy body, but like you're saying, unfortunately not everyone out there feels the same. And we might say don't live to please people, but unfortunately, because we are human, whatever people say to us affects us, even though we might want to ignore it, but it affects us. And I think there are things that we can do to also protect ourselves. I've tried going to the gym, I've tried physiotherapy, I've tried all sorts of things, but you know, I've just learned to say, okay, this might actually not be going away. Let's continue to eat right, let's continue to exercise, but until we get there, girl, get those bangs and you wear them.
And who's going to know? Seriously,
No one.
No one.
I met a girl at the shop and she said, girl, how's your waist looking so snatched? And I said, I'll give you the website. I'll give you the website.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I really like that. And for you, Irene?
So for me, I guess I kind of had to tell myself that I'm not as young as I was before, because when I look at when I got pregnant with my son, my second baby, I seem to have lost so much. I was with this journey with Anna, so I seem to have lost so much weight. I think in the first 12 months. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't know I could do this. And I kind of said to myself, okay, I'm gonna eat right. I stopped eating meat, you know, I was really exercising and, you know, doing everything, and my body did respond to that. But yeah, not all the recipes work the second time round. I've tried to do the same recipe with my third child, but it's just not budging. And
Like, no.
And it's something that I had to kind of say, oh, okay, well, what's happening? I've done, and I was actually getting frustrated. But what I actually realized that it's also just not about the eating. It's just not about the exercise. It's also to do with my mental health. My mental well-being is so important, and it plays such an important part, because it also goes back to, am I sleeping enough? And I've realized that if I'm not sleeping enough, I'm not going to lose as much weight as I would want to lose. And this is just a different season that I am in, and I just need to embrace it, and I just need to also be watchful of the things that I'm taking in, and the things that I'm feeding my soul with, because that is also going to take an important part of my mental health. So I'm positive that as much as I'm not where I'm supposed to be or where I was this time round with my second baby, but I think I'm getting more and more mature and confident in who I am, to actually say it's not about that, you know. There's more to me as a person than the weight that I'm going to lose. And I know I'm going to lose this weight, and I can say to myself, okay, you are going to lose the weight, and then what? So it's really about me embracing this time, and also learning myself better and better to see which are the triggers, you know, when it comes to my well-being. And I think that for me is priority right now.
That is so true. I like what you said, embracing the season you're in, because a lot of us compare, you know. I want to be like Amanda who's got 1 child, or I want to be like Irene with 5. And we've made it okay to pretend to be super moms, and we need that community or that space where we can actually remove that mask and you're like, girl, this is who I am. You know what I mean? And what I've also realized is you can work as much as you want on the outside, but in the inside, if you're not happy with who you are, it's not going to make a difference.
So
you're always going to be trying to change yourself, trying to change this, trying to change that. And sometimes you waste your time trying to change yourself. You fail to enjoy what you have and the season that you're in. I'll give you an example to say when I got here, I was like, I'm done having babies. I'm done and I'm off to my career doing me, And I think Irene knows because the journey changed. And I've now found myself being a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. And being around people who are working moms or other moms who be like, but Anna, we came to Australia for the money. It's like, what are you doing? You're wasting opportunities. And it's also remembering that God has given us a different purpose in each season. One day you're a career mom. Tomorrow, if you need to do something for your children, it's okay, right? So I want to ask you as working moms how you balance the working, coming home, being a wife, being a mom, and still staying true to yourself. Because a lot of moms lose themselves after having children. So how do you guys do that?
So for me, I think I thrive on routines, and it's definitely has been a lot harder when we moved to Australia, because back in South Africa I had help. And like you're saying, you want to balance staying true to yourself and managing and making sure that you're doing what you ought to do as a mom, as a wife, as whatever. The balance has definitely been very hard, but I must say what's worked for me or what's worked for us, because for me it hasn't been a one-man show. Tendai's been very supportive in doing everything together, helping out with the kids. When I'm doing the dishes, he's wiping. He knows that what makes me happy or what makes me comfortable is a super clean house. So he's helped me to maintain that, and also just training our children to be able to go on that same path and on the same journey with me has been something that's also helped. So with Caleb, he knows when he eats, he puts his plate either in the dishwasher, depending on how we're feeling. Are we hand washing or we're putting in the dishwasher? He will know that I'll put my dishes there. He knows that after playing with my toys when it's bedtime, I need to put my toys back in the toy boxes and pack the toy boxes away. I've made everything almost child friendly, so he can read it, so I don't necessarily need to pick it up. I've tried to empower him. I've put down his shelves. I bought hanging shelves where I've put clothes for him, so when we come back from school I say, go upstairs, go put your bag down and pick clothes to wear. So I'm also training him to do things for himself. At night we get him to bath himself, so the goal is eventually I will need to bath him. So the training and the working and the partnership with Tendai has been amazing. And just being a lot more organized and being intentional about maintaining a certain type of lifestyle you want. For example, we struggled initially with this. I used to say, if you take the salt, put it back, so that I don't have to come back and pick it up and put it back in the cupboard. When you put off your shoes, put them back in the closet. When you do this, it's not consistent, I'll be very honest, but there are times where I need to remind the kids to say, Caleb, with Lily now, it means Lily is just turning 1 in 2 weeks time, so we're starting to say, Lily, let's put the stuff in there. She's 1, she might not understand, but the more you do it, the more she'll understand. Yes, right now when you're putting back stuff, she might be taking it out. So the journey has been definitely not easy. And one other thing that works is just planning ahead, to know that, okay, tomorrow we need to do this. today we need to do this, and just getting everyone involved. Sometimes I'm making a salad, Caleb's cutting up the cucumber, or he's putting the olives in the salad, or he's washing the tomato. I'm doing dishes, he's rinsing. Yes, there's a mess, but it's the training today that will make tomorrow a lot easier.
That's so good.
That is so true. And for you, Irene?
I think for me, yeah, a balance is, I don't know, I think I've kind of struggled with that word of saying work-life balance. For me, I look at it as more of work-life integration. How do I weave my work and my job into one so that it's a place where I can comfortably live in? And I must say, for me, this has been one of my biggest challenges coming into Australia. I think back in South Africa, I kind of didn't struggle with that because there was so much support around that. And I think my husband was also quite supportive in the work that he had back in South Africa. I remember I didn't have a full-time maid. My maid was coming in the morning and leaving in the afternoon. But by the time she had to leave at 4, my husband was already home to take care of my daughter. And I'm always laughing because I feel like my son cries a lot. But I actually realized, no, he actually doesn't cry a lot. It's just because you were not there when your daughter was this age. you were just, you were at work, you were absent. So now that you are here, this is you feel like it's so consuming, but it's actually just the reality of parenting. And I must say, I think parenting has just been one of the most humbling and the most challenging experiences that I've had to encounter in my life. No type of job, no type of career can actually be compared to parenting. And I think through parenting, that is when we actually really have to lean and glee into God, because we realize that without Him, we cannot do it. We are not, we do not have the knowledge, the manual. We do not have the strength. I've got 3 and I feel I'm constantly just like, this is just too much. And the more I think about it as too much, the more I actually realize that I can't depend on myself. I need to really, there's never a time like this time in my life where I really need to depend on God. You know, I used to go into interviews, or I used to go into meetings and I say, oh God, please, I need your help. But I realized that there's no such time like this when it comes to raising children, where I constantly need to call on to God to actually just give me wisdom for each and every stage that my children are, because I've realized that in those, now that there are 3 of them, they all have different stages, and different stages means they all have different needs. And it's almost like you kind of have to wear different hats with them. So you're sitting in the sitting room and you realize that this one is asking for that, this one wants you to sing a song, and this one wants you to just hold them and cuddle them. And it's only through God that we can actually get that wisdom of, say, how do I, one person, me, how do I almost become 3 people? Because in that moment, you need to meet those needs for your kids. And I think that for me is where I think I can relate to balance. I need to balance that more than just work. It's really just balancing it within my parenting. I won't even stretch out to say, how do I then put my husband, my big baby, in the mix? Because the equation just doesn't work. So for now, we just look at these 3 kids and say, oh wow, God, I really need you. And I think I'm also in a season where I need to transition out of my maternity leave and go back to work. And I'm asking God to say, how does this all work? Me putting work and putting this full-on job. You know, I salute all the moms out there, the stay-home moms out there. I don't think there's any amount of money that can actually give them their worth, because there's nothing that can be compared to just being full on with the kids, because that is just so much work that actually goes into there. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. I think sometimes you then just lie down in bed, and when you're about, after you take that evening shower, and you are saying, like, I am exhausted. And for me, it was the work emails that I used to have on my phone, that you'd start hearing that beep sound. There are people who work at night.
Yes.
And you'd be like, no. Then you start to get frustrated, and
and taking it out in the home environment.
yeah. And then I think it's learning to know that, okay, now I'm away from work. This work life needs to stop. I am wearing my mom hat. This mom hat life, when the kids are in bed, has to stop. I am in my bed. I need to now be that wife. I need to wear that hat. And it's amazing how God created us, that we're able to switch like that. But I like what you keep saying, that it's only possible if God helps us.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I think it makes me, in this season, I've actually realized that when the Bible says we have everything that we need for now and beyond, it's so true, because everything that I need right now as a mom of 3, everything that I need right now as a mom who's going to transition into work, I have it in me. I don't need to go buy anything out there. No. There's no program. There's nothing that can actually make me be able to do what I need to do, because God has already given me everything that I need. I just need to ask God to say, God, what do I need in this season? What do you need me to do? What do you need me to focus on? Because I've also realized that sometimes we waste time in doing things that are not that we're not supposed to be doing. And we're like, okay, but why don't I have time? No, it's because you spent an hour on Netflix. You're not supposed to be watching Netflix because you don't have the time. In this season, unfortunately, you don't have it. But as I'm seeing many moms that have older kids, they tell me that, you know what, this is the best time. Enjoy it, embrace it, because one day these kids are going to grow, and time flies very quickly, and you're going to say, what happened? You're not going to be able to get back the time. So in this season, just ask God, what do you have for me? What do I need to do? And God, He will answer, and He will give us everything that we need.
What is your mantra in life?
I think my mantra is just affirming myself and just reminding myself who I am. Not by myself, but in Christ. And I think last week I was actually on a journey of going back to actually say, you know what, I used to think so highly of myself when I was 16 years old. So when I was 16, I wrote an affirmation about myself that my dad kept. I just wrote it on a piece of paper, and he literally kept it for 20 years now.
Wow.
So when he came to Australia in 2019, he brought it for me. It was framed, it was tagged out, and he said to me every morning before I go out to work, I read this and it motivates me. And I was just so in awe to say, if my father, who's done so many great things, that I will not be half of the person that he is, can be motivated by this. It was an I am statement where I was literally declaring things about my life. And if I remember part of it, I said, I am a leader of tomorrow. I'm unstoppable. I'm very creative. I'm positive.
Yeah.
I said I was literally motivating people. That's one of the things that I wrote about myself. I don't even know which people I was talking about. And I said I was helping them to even see the light, even in good or bad situations. I said there would still be a brighter side of things, regardless of what has happened in your life. And and I said, I'm a raging fire.
Mm.
And I'm like,
Girl.
what was I on? What was I even talking about? And really, I'm on this journey to really discover the 16-year-old because I believe that is where my vision, my future self is directed to. If I can find that girl, I think I would have lived out my purpose. So really, my mantra right now is just leaning into my 16-year-old self, leaning into God and saying, God, I know you've set aside, if at 16 you'd already declared this about my life, and you're even saying, Irene, I know you forgot, you got distracted, you got busy with life, and you moved away from what I had purposed you for, but I'm still here. We can still find that 16-year-old self.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I've seen you evolve, and I'm like right there cheering you on to say, girl, this is you. And I'm inspired. Like all the time, I'm like, out of all my friends, I think you're the one person I will say, in Irene, I have a disciplined friend.
Yeah.
You've got self-control, you've got discipline. Yeah. I'm like, can you put a
Transfer
bit
some
of
of
that
that
on
onto
us, you know? But yeah, you
Thank
really
you
do
so much.
inspire
I
us.
actually
And
don't see that in myself.
Oh, you do, Irene. You do.
when they're disciplined about your time, about the way you do things, and I'm like, wow. And I think that is something we struggle with, putting boundaries, learning to say no, and making sure that you do not forget yourself in the process of, you know, being a mother, a wife, and, you know, the different hats you wear. Amanda, what's your mantra?
Well, unfortunately for me, mine is not as deep as
Oh,
Irene. 19-year-old me had a vision board that my mom had to take out of my room because she thought it was a little inappropriate.
Vision board at 19, that was
I
good.
had a vision board which had things that were good and things that were really just inspired by media. But I look back at it now, and there's some things I can still pick from there that I still, you know, set myself on, and that still keep me going. But now the mature me is really for me it's a verse that keeps me growing, that says I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me.
Amen.
I think whenever I want to embark on that journey, that I tell myself I've never been a brand manager before. I'm then reminded, girl, you can do anything through Christ who strengthens you.
Amen.
When I say, am I really ready to be a mom of two? I say, I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me. Wow. Am I able to go up and speak and teach people and lead people? I remind myself I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me. And
That is deep, girl. And I think I've seen that part of you, like, ever since you moved here, because we became friends, where there's some things you started off doing, and then there's some things, like, you've evolved, you know? Like, now, even when we say, Amanda, we need someone to speak, you're like, okay, I will do it. When we started to be like, Askana, I can't, you know? And we've been blessed, you know? So it's really nice to see you walk in your purpose and just having God lead in your life. A lot of women have been blessed with the work that you do, and the fact that you're transparent, like you totally say it as it is, you know. You're that friend who's like, Sha, Anna. You know, so yes, and I love that, and I think that's why we need to celebrate each other the way we are, without needing to say, Amanda, you need to be like me, or Irene needs to be like me. You know what I mean? If we're all in a space where we allow ourselves to be ourselves, then we empower other people, you know, and we encourage others to know that we don't need to be super women and pretend to have masks so that we're accepted. We can just be ourselves and still celebrate each other. Thank you, ladies. So I will definitely invite you for another video, but I'm sure that people have had a chance to learn from you like I do on a day-to-day basis. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
bye. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye.
Bye.